All right, we're back. Talking some more hoops. Getting the energy up. Energy up. We got people falling asleep before we start.
I'm good.
It's that time. It's that time of year. We all have the madness. This is Wes Hewitt, Journal Star Sports Editor, back with you. Got Adam Duvall here as usual, and John Camosa. We're going to talk some hoops.
Hello.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the girls wrapping up their seasons. Then we'll go talk a little bit about the boys, 1A, Roanoke and Notre Dame. We'll talk a little bit about the coronavirus situation with March Madness.
Absolutely.
But we'll start over there with Adam. Morton girls, tough way to end their season.
Tough loss for the Potters. I mean, they came out firing in the gate, up 16-0. A lot of turnovers, 21 turnovers, very uncharacteristic of Morton. And also, they had a record-setting free throw shooting team in the last 251 of the game when it was close. They missed the front end of a 1-and-1. They split a pair and then missed two.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, and Simeon, 5 seconds left, came down. Girl drove, dished. Morton got a clean look for the win.
Yeah,
and it just fell short. I mean, 37-1. That's nothing to scoff at. I mean, in the past 6 seasons, they've had 6 Sweet 16 appearances.
Wow.
4 titles, a runner-up, and I think it's 214 wins, which is just unreal.
Well, and with Krupa coming back, and I assume the well is certainly not dry.
No, yeah. Well, one thing of note is Katie Krupa, Peyton Deering, Lindsay Dullard all played 32 minutes. They all played the entire game. That's the longest that those starters have played any game because, I mean, most of their games were running clock.
Sure.
But, yeah, Katie Krupa will be back. Maggie Hobson, who's a sophomore, she'll be back. Hopefully Raquel Frakes, who suffered an ACL, will be healthy and ready to go. And as long as you have Bob Becker on the sidelines, I think you're going to be, in really good shape. So, yeah, it was a great season for Morton. They just came up, unfortunately for them, a point short.
Yeah, similar to last week with Lewiston, also came up short. It's one of those things. We get so bogged down in sports about – I mean, winning is important, obviously, and we love to laud teams that win here and how they win. But I hope these kids don't sort of stake their entire – way they feel about their performances based on how they ended the season. I mean, because similar to Morton, I mean, anybody who wins their season, it's so much about the journey when it comes to sports. And it's a cliche, I know, but it really is. But I mean, it's a cliche for certain reasons because it's true,
right? And, which is unfortunate for those seniors, kids like Lindsay Dullard, Maddie Becker, Courtney Jones, that was their 3rd time in Redbird. That was the 3rd time they played in a state championship game.
Right.
But they'll always, unfortunately, remember that the last game they played was a 1-point loss.
Yeah.
When they already have, 2 titles in the books.
Yeah, I don't know why it just came to me. I remember had a coach tell me back a long time ago, talking about losing or winning a game, and he goes, I went home and my kids still love me, but the cheeseburger tasted a little bit better. Like that's all it really mattered to him. Like life still went on. His family still loved him. Food tasted a little better for a little bit, but it's on to the next thing. And speaking of on to the next thing, Roanoke Benson coming to Peoria.
First time since 1977.
That's right. The year of my birth.
Yeah.
Huge.
Just been incredible all year, what they've done there. And I listened to the teleconference a little earlier this morning, and Abe Zeller said, after losing 3 seniors on that team from last year, that they didn't think they would respond quite the same coming into this year. And 36-1 is quite the response for them. So last night in the normal super sectional, Class 1A, played a very tough Chicago Fenger team, pulled it out 45-43 thanks to a 3-point play down the stretch from Jack Weber. Weber was just crucial in those final minutes for Roanoke. He just converted on a big basket every time they needed one down the stretch, to go along with his brother Joel, who hit some free throws for him, and then Trent Weldon. And obviously Luke Brayman was big inside their, 6'8" forward. He had 15 points and 13 rebounds. So honestly, it's just impressive to watch how all these guys kind of come together. It's not a one-man show. They just work the ball really well. They're patient. Fenger obviously stepped up their defensive pressure in the full court on Roanoke, but then Roanoke exchanged the favor. And, still playing a team like that, you'd think it'd be more of a high-tempo, high-scoring, up-tempo game, but they still kept them in the 40s, which they've done this year, as, hold teams under 50. So really, really great game last night, and just a huge win for Abe Zeller and his team, finally getting to Peoria, where they'll play Goreville on Friday.
That's right. So. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Move over to Fieldcrest. They lost it to tough one in the Super.
Fieldcrest came up just short. A great year that Matt Winkler and those guys have had over there, 27-7. But ran into a really good Elmhurst Timothy Christian team up at NIU. End up losing 59-43. Just a tough team you got to play. Sometimes, you get that far, and then the super sectional draw is always a really tough competitor. So Great year by the Knights, but just coming up a little bit short of reaching Peoria. So.
And then we have tonight. We're going to have Manual take on Rock Island. The winner of that will advance to Friday's title game in the 3A Peoria sectional against Notre Dame, who last night had a nice, impressive win.
Yeah, we had our guy Stan Morris there reporting on that one, so I was following his tweets a little bit, did see some of the highlights on that game. But Notre Dame kind of doing what they do best, is coming out hot out of the gate. Scored the first 11 points of the game. Had Geneseo down 11-0 early. And then Connor Dillon, Noah Reynolds, Nelson Reynolds just, kind of taking over down the stretch. Held him off for a 46-33 win, behind 14 points from Noah Reynolds again. And then Connor Dillon contributed double figures. So just really impressive also on the flip side of, big school basketball, what Locker's doing with those guys. They're combined with Roanoke, only 2 losses between those two teams. And
it feels like we've been talking about those two programs since before Christmas. How consistent they've been, and how deep they are.
So,
since Tom Locker has taken over that program, you look at sectional titles, Elite Eight appearances, just consistently excellent around, all up and down the board. And I think that maybe this is the year that they take that next step.
Yeah, you hope so. I feel like there's been a little bit of a power vacuum that hasn't been filled with Peoria basketball over the last handful of years, and maybe Notre Dame can take its turn. It seems like all the Peoria schools have had that turn where they had a little run of title or state appearances and what. And so maybe this is Notre Dame's time to.
Yeah, and it's like. Same thing with Roanoke, how I kind of mentioned how they have different guys that can step up each. And I remember a game early in the year, Luke Brayman went down with foul trouble, and they still blew out Princeville. Same thing with Notre Dame. It's like they're not worried about their guy, quote unquote, going down or anybody fouling out. It's because they have so many different weapons. I remember earlier in the year when they played Connor Linke, who came in from Bradley, or Bradley recruit came into Peoria. And they handled up on that team, and Noah Reynolds wasn't playing. I believe he got suspended from a game earlier and had to sit out. But they still, showed their dominance without their leading scorer, and I think that's just a testimony to that team having different weapons. That 4 or 5 guys any given night that can score is what makes these two teams in our area just so dangerous. And honestly, like Duvey said, very good chance of Notre Dame getting there to the championship as well as Roanoke. So
yep. Well, they'll be there. Adam.
No, I was just going to say, and we could see that St. Charles North team in 4A because they come out of a super sectional complex that isn't exactly the toughest. So we could see Connor Link playing in Peoria in 2 weeks.
Definitely.
Well, Notre Dame will be playing Friday at Renaissance Coliseum for the Peoria Sectional Championship against the winner of tonight's Manual Rock Island game. Before we talk a little bit about the upcoming state finals a little bit, Mike O'Brien of the Sun-Times spoke today with Craig Anderson of the IHSA, and as of now, which is, if you're listening to this later, 4:30 or so on a Wednesday afternoon before state, still to go on. We're still, it's targeted to still host the state tournament amid the coronavirus fears. Right. Special Olympics yesterday canceled the unified state tournament, which is taking part during the experience.
Yeah, and that is not IHSA related. That the IHSA and Special Olympics partner with that for the unified. So that was the Special Olympics decision, not the IHSA's decision.
Yeah, and Craig said that they've been in coordination with Peoria County and state officials, and I spoke today with the Peoria Area Convention Visitors Bureau, and as of right now, it's business as usual, they said. But again, this is such a fluid situation. Literally like an hour before, or less than that, before we came on the air, the NCAA said that they'll be running the tournament without the fans, more or less.
Right.
Only essential personnel, I think, is what the statement was.
And we talked before the podcast. I really, and I'm in agreement with you. I hope there isn't a trickle down effect that the NCAA, the governing body, they eliminated fans. So the Big Ten Conference, for example, who has their tournament in Indianapolis this weekend, or starts Thursday or tomorh or today. Starts today. That it's just like, okay, well, the NCAA did it, so the Big Ten has to do it. Or
again, I don't think I don't want to undersell the importance of safety.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I hope these groups independently make their own decisions with their current location or their state. Obviously, federal guidelines matter, but in a situation such as this, you need to listen to the experts.
Yeah.
But again, also John and I were talking. At the end of the day, it's just sports. If you don't get to go watch the game, and you have to watch it at home on TV. So what?
It'll be an interesting, like tomorrow night, the Warriors play the Nets.
Yeah,
just a different vibe. Yeah,
in front of a totally empty.
Right.
Wild. And then you think about Bradley, who could be a 14, 15 seed or whatever. I know talent is one thing, but there's a lot of factors that go into you feed off the crowd energy, and and you eliminate that, and
you never know. I could see both arguments. It could favor an underdog, or it could hurt them. To be honest, because I do know that during NCAA tournaments, for instance, different crowd. Let's say there's a pod where there's 4 teams playing. The fans of, let's say Bradley were playing Seton Hall, for instance, or something. I'm just throwing out a name. And they're playing in New York. And the fans of another team sort of get on board of the underdog. Once the underdog started playing close. I think it happened last year with Bradley and Michigan State.
Right.
Sort of general or non-Bradley fans are just walk-up fans sort of get on board and start cheering for the underdog. So it'll be interesting, if nothing else, for sure.
But the IHSA doesn't have to worry about that for now.
For now.
Yeah.
Yes. As of 4:30 on Wednesday.
Right.
Again, it's such a fluid thing that we're speaking on it now. We might walk outside these doors and the story's changed. But speaking of state finals, they will. I will say, above all, they'll probably play them no matter what.
Yeah.
Whether or not there's fans there is a separate issue.
Media and staff and bare minimum if they had to.
In 1A, we got Madison against Aurora Christian at 11 a.m. Friday. Goreville against Roanoke Benson, as we mentioned, 1 p.m. Friday. 2A tournaments starts at 5:30 with Chicago Ore and Breeze Mater Dei. Then the nightcap is Timothy Christian, who we mentioned earlier, beat Fieldcrest, and Springfield Sacred Heart Griffin at 7:15. Do you want to go ahead and pick this thing?
Yeah, let's pick it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go all the way through semis and then pick the title winner?
Yeah, we just pick who so-and-so over someone else. I
like it. Start in 1A?
1A, let's do it.
I said this, I like the Madison Roanoke Benson matchup in a title, so I'm going to go with those two in my semis. Madison, I saw a little bit of Madison yesterday in the highlights play Athens because I was curious to how that game would go.
That was an impressive spread. It was 68-43 or something?
Yeah, and it was close to start, and then they pulled away, and I got to see that Athens team play twice against Quest and Peoria Christian, so I was kind of curious to how they would continue their run. And Madison, just based off of those highlights and how well they separated, seems like a sure favorite. And I don't know much about Aurora Christian, but I'll stick with Madison. And I know Goreville and that other semi does have quite a bit of size. I think the way Roanoke really utilizes their zone defense, and especially with Bremen in the middle, that they'll still find a way to contain those guys. So I'm gonna go with Roanoke and Madison in my championship matchup there.
And in a winner?
Roanoke.
All right.
Cutting down nets.
Adam?
Madison, Roanoke.
Yeah.
Roanoke over Madison.
I think we're all in agreement. It'll be an interesting matchup, and we saw a little bit what Roanoke can do against speed yesterday with Finger, and I think it'll be a similar situation with Madison. Again, it would be interesting because I do think that could come into play with fans. If there are no fans in the stands on Saturday morning, that could affect Roanoke, because I expect a pretty large Roanoke contingent.
Yeah.
To be there.
And at the end of the day, and I think if that is a situation where either team, like we just predicted, is playing for a title, or even in the semis, if they decided that there wouldn't be any fans, is that the coach or Zeller or any other coach out there is probably going to tell their guys that nothing is going to change with these fans not being here. Obviously, it's like Duvey was saying,
you can pull out the measuring tape.
Hard
Still
to
10 feet tall,
hard to get that feed off the crowd energy and everything. But at the end of the day, when you look back at it 10 years from now, still going to have your name in there, underneath the IHSA champion. So still want to play the game. It's not just like they took away the trophy. So yeah, like you said, interesting, but I still think they'll be up for playing.
All right, let's slide over 2A. John, aside from reading about Mike O'Brien's great coverage of Orr, I really don't know much about most of these teams. Springfield seems like a little bit of a surprise there to me.
They knocked off the previously undefeated Bismarck Henning. By 3. But yeah, Chicago Orr could join Peoria Emmanuel and Chicago Simeon as the only programs to win 4 successive state championships.
Wow, it's impressive.
Yeah.
And just looking into 2A, I wouldn't say sure favorite because I think, it could be a very close game, but I like Orr in this one just because their schedule is that they're 2A, but they play such a loaded schedule. We followed O'Brien, 3A, 4A teams. They've Simeon, all these other teams. So I think when you play a jam-packed schedule like that, it's kind of hard to not pick this team. So like Wes said, I don't know much about Breeze Mater Day, but I'll stick with Orr.
Number 1 Orr versus number 3 Breeze Mater Day.
I like Orr still in that one. So
should be a heck of a semi. Yeah, I'm going to go Orr too. I think they'll continue the trend. I mean, that 2A has been really nice for Orr, and Lou Adams does a great job coaching.
And I like SHG in the second semi. It's just a lot of people that I talk to, and
they're in sort of a similar spot. Obviously, I think a level down, obviously, from Orr's play, but SHG is similar. They play a lot of 3A schools throughout the entire year because of their conference and their non-conference. And there's been some scuttlebutt about whether or not they should be in 2A. And
they were in 3A last year,
right?
So, yeah, I think I'm going with Timothy Christian.
I think so too. They've been looking at some of their scores and how well they handled Fieldcrest yesterday, and I feel like the coach there has something going. So I think I'm with you guys. I'm going to go Orr over Timothy there for the 2A.
I'll say Orr
title
over SHG.
Okay,
I like it. Yep. All right, slide 3A. Before we head out, we'll pick that Peoria sectional title game.
I think Manuel's playing. It's best basketball at the right time, kind of like they did last year. Rams.
Yeah. Got to go with Manuel, especially just what they've done in this postseason so far. It seemed like just separated from, Limestone and then beating a really good Galesburg team, which didn't expect that outcome like that, beating them by 16. So I think they're clicking at the right time. We didn't
mention that. That was a huge upset that we neglected
kind of
to mention.
Looking back. So Manuel, beat Galesburg, which was 4th in the state, top seed there. Played them at home.
Yeah, impressive.
And beat them by 16.
Their first home loss of the year.
Yeah, first home loss of the year. And Galesburg plays, that's looking at it, that's the same Galesburg team that beat Rock Island by, I think it was 83-57.
Yeah,
late in the year. So
I'll eat a little crow off mic. I was talking some junk about Manuel a little bit, feeling like they might just sort of lay down a little bit at that regional, and I was wrong about that, man.
Right,
really, really impressive.
Yeah, I was one that was kind of circling that Notre Dame versus Galesburg sectional final, and
sure.
It could be round 3.
I think, we all kind of agreed on that. The Galesburg Notre Dame
Sure.
seemed like the sure favorite, but now it's like, being a Peoria area fan, your fingers are crossed for that Manual Notre Dame rematch because I think that'd be really fun. It's same situation last year where Notre Dame beat them twice and the Manual clipped them in the title. So
Yep.
I think Coleman, Locker, all those guys would really hope for that game again.
Yeah.
And hopefully fans at that one.
Yes.
Hopefully fans, because that'll
Hopefully
be a
fans.
sellout, no doubt.
I will pick Notre Dame in that one, though. I do think they have a little bit of a, I don't know what to say,
An edge to 'em,
a destiny.
Yeah.
But, anyway. But, again, if Manuel's hoisting that sectional plaque, it wouldn't surprise me either.
Mm-hmm.
I got Notre Dame. Snip, snip.
Yeah.
Going up to DeKalb. I got them coming to Peoria.
Yeah, Notre Dame as well. And then kind of interested to see who they would, draw if they get in the state. So,
All right, well, we're going to wrap it up. If you need, please follow us, pjstar.com/preps. Find out the latest information on the HSA, if their decision to limit access to the tournaments or whatever. We'll have a story going up pretty soon about everything being status quo. But again, check Twitter. He's at Adam Duvall. He's at JKOM91, and I'm at Wes Hewitt and at PJ Star Sports. Hashtag PJS Preps.
Join the conversation.
That's right. For Adam Duvall and John Camosa, this is Wes Hewitt saying bye.